Welcome to Jeff and Jamion, winning in the margins. Today, our topic is when growing, how do you keep the main thing the main thing? Jeff, it made me think of you when we were talking about this topic because your business is growing so rapidly. Every time I'm watching your social media, I'm seeing how many different teams are coming in and working out of your space. You can tell the energy is popping every time people are coming in there. So it really made me think of you when we were kind of discussing topics for the week.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces right now, and when you brought that topic up earlier in the week, it allowed me to ask a few questions. Are we focused, and how do I know that when you're putting a puzzle together, it's literally a puzzle, and so you have to see some of the pieces start coming together to know that you're heading in the right direction. So I was fired up when you brought this topic up.
Yeah, I was thinking about it as well. And, I've been a part of rebuilding a few programs and a few teams, and that's always the hard part. Sort of the people that you need when you're rebuilding it are not always the people that you'll have at the end when you're trying to sustain it. And so trying to figure out what you need and when is really important. And then knowing when to pull back. Some strategies we've done in the past might have worked then, but they're not going to work right now where the organization is.
When you say some of the strategies, can you describe those that you've experienced in the past?
Yeah, like
What
let's say
wouldn't work necessarily in the
Yeah,
future of this?
let's say you're in a growth phase and we've got to market our product to get it on the mainstream. I really believe a lot in building a college basketball team is about how you market it and how people speak about your program. So at the beginning, it's going to be really important to be innovative and to find different ways to portray your team either on social media and on different things that you can do there. But as you get a little bit more established and you establish those 10 or 12 things that you love to do to build it, and for us, it's the way we engage in the community, right? I really believe a lot in engaging in the community in terms of not just community service. I mean, that's one part of it, but it's like you want your players to be a part of the community in other ways as well. And so that's bringing organizations into your team and them going out and serving those as well. So that's a part of it, is being part of the community. It's about understanding what's going on in your community, in the world around you, so they can interact better with the people in the community when they're walking around town and understanding what's going on around them. So there's a couple things there. We also want to make sure that we're doing a great job with our video content. Obviously with Twitter, with Instagram, with TikTok. I coach young players, so we've got to have a presence there that says who we are, and it can't take 10 minutes all the time. It's got to be pretty short and concise. So those things to me become very, very important, because when you first get in on the rebuilder, you've got to either reestablish yourself in the market or you've got to establish yourself in the market. And to do that, you have to be a bit of a disruptor. But once you're established and people know who we are, what we stand for, now we just got to hold the standard of excellence. When you're building, you can make a few mistakes in the sake of building, but once the standard is raised and the bar is where it is, now we've got to have people that are committed to holding the standard. Maybe they take less risk. Maybe they evaluate things a little bit differently. And I think that's always a challenge, that when you're growing, keeping the main thing, but knowing that we got to do different things at different parts of our journey to be the very best we can be.
Okay. Got you. Yeah, for us, the main thing is who we are. The main thing is the character. So when you bring it, the character of the team, the character of the individual, and the gap that separates. I talk about this every single time we talk, but that keeps that separates the champion from you name the level.
Right.
And so when we're establishing different teams or different divisions or putting different you mentioned social media, we want to make sure our social media presence is hitting hard on the character of our audience, hitting them in the heart, if you will. If we're hitting on the character, it's hitting the heart of the audience member. So whatever we're doing is a tool to, if it's Coach Jamion and, hey, we're making the tournament, but we haven't snuck into the Sweet 16 yet. We haven't hit the Final Four yet. We don't believe we're capable of winning a championship yet. And when you tune into who we are and see something on our social media, we want you to walk away inspired, empowered, and taking away a value that can help take you to the next level. If we're getting a team starting a team, we need to know that the first thing that we want to do is make sure that that team comes together we all bring a different role to the game. You have to have a common cause. And our common cause is to give your very best, to give your very best to your teammates. You know, as a team, we are developers. When you come onto our team, we're going to develop you, you're going to make progress, and we're going to do that together. And those are the three things that are going to happen all the time. And so, how do we do that? And making sure that we're doing that the right way. From the ground up. So you talk phases. That's the first phase.
Yeah.
The second phase is creativity, but the first phase is development and developing the right way.
Yeah. And, and so much of it as you're phasing up, right? And I think it is phasing up. It's not phasing out.
Yes.
A
Yes.
lot of times, and so you need builders each step of the way. Some people call it like scaffolding. So you're kind of stepping up. I don't love scaffolding because I see those scaffolds in the city. I think they're pretty weak looking, right? So to me, I want to build strong walls with character, with understanding. But it's also about empowering the voices of the people who you have a chance to lead. I think that's really important. I like to explain to them why we're marketing things the way that we are, why we're creating the energy that we are, why we're inviting so many people in to interact with them. I just think that's really important, especially on the ground level, to explain to them the why. Because if they get the why, they're going to be able to teach it to the next group that comes in. In college, you have, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. That opportunity for them to be able to relay the message. Like leadership is, leadership from us, we're going to teach, we're going to lead. But it really takes hold when the people of the organization understand why you're doing it and why it's important to uphold those standards. And they can't uphold the standards if they don't understand the why. And through the years, the why can easily get thin. And so this constant reminder of why we're doing the things that we are and the importance of it, I think, are extremely important. If you get the minds and the mouths of everyone in your organization, they can echo it sometimes better than you can.
So you've been a coach, and you have players, but you also have assistant coaches. You also have administrators. You also have janitors. Describe the why from a few of those different positions that don't have anything to do with the player. So when you're breaking down why we're doing what we're doing, because it takes much more than the ball player dribbling the ball. They're never going to dribble the ball if
Yeah.
you don't have those role players that we never see. Do you believe that they need to understand the why as well, and how do you distribute that message?
Yeah, it's funny. So I played at Mount St. Mary's, coached at Mount St. Mary's. It's in Emmitsburg, Maryland. It's about 10 minutes south of Gettysburg, 30 minutes north of Frederick. And everyone always says, I mean, you guys are in the middle of nowhere. And they say all these things about Mount St. Mary's, and they don't understand why the basketball is really good there. And, obviously we had a coach who's a Hall of Fame coach. Coach Jim Phelan was there 49 years. And then, we've had success since he retired, and he's a big part of the history. But I didn't realize this until I came back to the Mount as a coach. I come in, at the Mount, let's say there's a game on Wednesday. Wednesday night, there's a game. People don't empty out of the building until about 10 o'clock. When the game ends, you don't see anyone in janitorial staff cleaning up. Now, usually, when a game ends, an event ends, you see the janitorial staff coming right in, and they're almost pushing out the building, trying to clean up to get out of there. But at the Mount, you don't see anyone doing that. But when you come in at 7 a.m., the place is spotless. And so they've made you feel welcomed. They've hoped you enjoyed your time. And then when you come back in the next morning, they've completely done their job to the fullest level. It's interesting because having people at every step that take pride in what they do, they understand their why much more sometimes than the guys on the team. And I remember being, I've been at a bunch of different stops now. And that doesn't happen everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call the places out that I've been where it doesn't happen. But it doesn't happen everywhere. And it wasn't until I came back that I recognized, like, that's why we're really good.
So can you stay on that
Yeah, yeah.
experience with that very role? What is the behind the scenes like that the custodial staff is so on fire from 12 o'clock at night to 7 to have that place shining in a way that nobody, unless it's you, will know
Yeah.
what went on behind the scenes? Why are
Yeah,
they so on fire? What is the why that at one point you were passing on, correct? Or
yeah, yeah, yeah.
responsible for?
Um, well, I think number one, the person takes great individual pride. We call them HPIs, high potential individuals. Those are anyone that you interact with that bring an organization that will just make your everyday better. So we call them HPIs. We're always looking for these HPIs in recruiting and staffing. Again, a high potential individual. That individual, um, I use the example of McDonald's. But you get hired at McDonald's, the first job you have is janitorial. You're taking trash out and cleaning the floors, and suddenly the McDonald's floors are cleaner. The trash cans are always clean, so people feel safer in the environment. The bathroom isn't slick; it's clean, so people feel like this is a place where I want to order food. Well, so after a few months of being being on the lowest level, they then said we're going to move you up. Now you're going to move up. You're going to be in charge of the fries, right? And so now because you did a great job of the floors, the next person that comes in has to raise the standard, do a great job because you're going to notice because the standard's been set. So now they do a great job of the fries. They put the exact right amount of salt on them. They fry them the right way. They're not too soggy. So now people come back and they order more fries, right? And they say, well, I really want to be a part of this. So they come back. Well, then again, as they move up, the next person says, I've got to do as good a job as this person, right? So now that, eventually the person becomes a cashier. They're friendly when people come in. People feel really accepting, appreciated. They come back, they come back and they order now dessert because they had such a great interaction with the cashier that they said, I want to get a milkshake before I leave out of here. So you make more money there. Now, subsequently, you go from there to now you're the manager of the entire McDonald's. And so it's not a surprise that when the McDonald's is going to run better because the person has done it better at every single level. So we call them high potential individuals. And, the Mount has a lot of these people that they take so much pride in that. And, I remember coming in I'd come in at 6 a.m. if I played bad the night before. And this is when I was a player. And the same, Miss Connie is her name. She would come in and I'd be on the floor shooting on one basket and she'd be cleaning the floor. And she's already cleaned the bleachers before I've gotten there at 6 a.m. And I'm shooting on one of the baskets. And instead of being like, hey, you got to get off the floor, she would say, hey, I'm going to do this half court and I'm going to start with the middle. So by the time I finish, we can change ends.
So,
right? And so she never got involved she never interrupted my work, but I also respected her work.
She not only not interrupted your work, she made sure you got it in and knew how much you were valued. She made sure she knew it was valuable and it needed to be done, and helped come up with the logistics that were going to get it done.
She didn't bring this problem to me. She came down and said, hey, what do you think about this? And she already had the problem decided. And so this kind of became our dance when I was a player in the mornings, like we just would sort of operate this way. And so obviously when I became the head coach, it's like I had a great respect for the work that she did and that she demanded that others would do. She'd raise that standard, and anyone she hired, you had to be up at that standard. And so, I kind of didn't get to go through the rest of the personnel, but I think that sets the standard right there.
Let's stick with Miss Connie because when you describe a high potential individual, that's who you want on your team all day long. And so Miss Connie, who was she? Why did she buy into the Mount so much? What was it about her character?
Man, great question.
And my goodness, with keeping the main thing, right? You were a basketball player. In order for Mount St. Mary's to be Mount St. Mary's has to have good basketball.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to come and do your thing. And she's got to do her job to make sure people are coming into a clean environment. But why did she know that?
I never felt like she did it for the money.
Okay.
She did it because she wanted to be the best at it.
When you look back, thinking in hindsight, and even if you have to take a minute to do this, what was her character? Why?
Oh, she's outstanding.
Because she loved it, but who was she to you through your eyes?
Yeah.
Who was Miss Connie?
Well, for me, she became a confidant. She became a person I really trusted. I would go down and they have a little custodial closet, and I would sit in there for an hour a couple times a week, and her and I would just sit down and just talk. I just loved how she worked and how she attacked things. Her character's outstanding. Like, I mean, I trust her with anything. But because she worked the way that she did, and she respected people so much, now if you crossed her, she would still do her job to the best of her ability, but she wouldn't necessarily love you like she loved me.
When
Never
you
let her feelings get involved in place of her job and what she needed to do.
when you say if you crossed her, you probably weren't crossing her, you were crossing character.
Yeah.
Because when you have a person like that, like especially when you describe, she's still gonna do the job to the utmost. She's gonna go above and
Yeah.
beyond. But when you have someone that knows why they're there, what mission they're on, I heard you describe trusted. You knew she was going to get the job done. You knew you could go to her with whatever you needed to. She was a confidant. I heard you
Yeah.
describe. She got the job done, guaranteed. You knew what was going to happen the next morning, what you were going to find, and she respected people. And so when I hear you talking about that, it's probably really hard when hey, Alex, stay in here, okay? I'm sorry, man. They can
Right.
break this. Hey, Alex, you got to stay in here. I'm done in about 10 minutes. All right, come back over here. Thank you, brother. So picking up with Miss Connie, when that same way isn't the way, it's hard to handle.
Yeah.
Really hard to handle because her heart is for the magic of what you described Mount St. Mary's was all about, and that's people, that's love, that's community. You described, they invited you in, and they didn't tell you to get out.
Yeah.
You were home, and so when you're home, and everybody plays their role. Some are behind the scenes, some are quiet, some are meant to be the announcer. Some are guiding everything, but we're playing our role. And so, it makes it very easy to see why a Miss Connie is valued so much at Mount St. Mary's. And while at the
Yeah.
same time, it makes it very easy to see how she'd have a hard time with someone that was outside of those lines. Because when you know who you are, you just know and you can't unknow.
Yeah. And and it's funny. I mean, all my travels, I'm always looking for a Miss Connie. I mean, when you walk in the building, you just know if there's a Miss Connie or there isn't. I mean, she's just really remarkable in how she does her job and how she cares about it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But that's what makes that place go. I mean, there are a lot of people like that. It's not a huge staff, and there are a lot of people that take such pride in what they do. It's crazy because all these other places I've been, it's like about the money.
Yeah.
And they're not about the money. They're about doing
the
their
heart.
job to the best of their ability. Yeah.
They're about the heart. And that's how you keep the main thing the main thing. 100%. Is it coming from the heart? If it's coming from the heart and you have a bunch of role players giving their very best to everything, the money is going to be there. But if you have somebody doing it for the money, somebody doing it for the fame, somebody doing it for the right reasons, then you're divided. But when you have a whole community full of folks playing their role, the money is going to be there, but it's the heart that makes the difference. It's the heart of what you're doing, the heart of the mission being accomplished that makes the difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And just like that, Jamion, I believe that's how you keep the main thing the main thing.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us today on Jeff and Jamion, keeping the main thing, even while you're growing. Until next time.